You're listening to Little Green Cheese, episode 12. Well, welcome back. I'm Gavin Weber, and this is where you can learn about making cheese at home. Well, this week I have a wonderful interview with a lady called Debra Allard, and she lives in Burringbar in New South Wales, which is quite close to Byron Bay. She was telling me all about how she learned to make cheese, how she actually even set up a factory, a cheese factory with a partner, with a friend, and then how she ended up teaching cheese classes, and she continues to make cheese at home just about every week, she tells me. It's a wonderful interview, it goes for about 40 minutes, so sit back and enjoy. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you, Gavin. I'm surrounded by cheese, so I'm in a great state at the moment.
Oh, I bet. I've seen some of your cheese-making exploits on Cheeses Loves You. Is that right? Your Facebook page?
You. Yeah, it's my religion of choice.
All right. So a little bit, I bet you got that from Kath and Kim, maybe?
Her little baby cheeses.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, I know. I get told that one a lot. When I had a little factory, I used to write it on the invoice sometimes. And so when the factory was no more, I thought, well, if I ever have another name, it'll be Cheeses Loves You.
Lovely. Fantastic.
So I haven't offended anyone too much with that little name, so I'm going to stick to it.
I think it's very apt. So where do you come from?
Oh, my goodness. Where do I come from? Well, my dad was in the Navy, so we moved every 2 years. And then he retired at the grand old age of 42 up at a place called Burringbar, which is northern New South Wales.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so I finished the last 4 years of schooling up this way, and after year 12, I headed back to Sydney, where we had spent a bit of time. And I worked for a bank, and then I worked for a record company, and then I went overseas, and I came back, and I came back to Brisbane so I would have a bit more time with my parents. And my mum set me up on a blind date with a farmer. And we married 11 months later. I was nearly 30 at that stage and had 2 children quite quickly. And then I've stayed here ever since. So it's a lovely little spot. It's near Byron. It's about 20 minutes north of Byron driving. And my husband's family have been here since the late 1800s. So they've still got farmland. We have beef cattle, chickens, and the famous Princess Annie cow, who was one of twins that we raised, bottle-fed, who drinks all my whey when I make cheese. And so she's always hanging around, and we've got we had 2 cattle dogs. One died a couple of weeks ago with dog tick.
Oh, it's not
but
good.
Yes, we've gone for farmland, which is just lovely.
So how many acres is it?
We have 7 on our place, but my in-laws have 200 acres.
Okay,
so you can't do much farming around here. You can, but dairy farming is quite tough game. So my father-in-law was a dairy farmer.
Yeah.
And gave it away in the 70s, and he didn't really want my husband to be a dairy farmer. So he made him go and get a trade. So my husband's a welder.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we do have beef cattle. When the dairy farm stopped, they put beef cattle on, and we continued that. So I think we've got about 50 breeders, a beautiful bull, and probably we've got quite a few steers and calves at the moment. They're dropping like flies. You know, it's really good spring weather.
Yeah. Yeah, it is lovely at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit more rain, but it's just beautiful.
So,
beautiful day.
So the question then is, how did you get into cheese making?
Cheese making. Well, I started on the committee at the local Burringbar Hall. It's an old School of Arts hall, and I was on there with a dairy farmer's wife, and we both mentioned that we'd seen a landline show on making cheese making classes. So a few friends wanted to do it as well. So 4 of us went to Mount Tamborine and we did a course with Carol Millman, probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And it was so much fun. We just really loved it. That we came home and I was working full-time for a marketing company, and I said, right, I'm giving up Friday's work. We're going to make cheese every Friday. And so we did. Her and I, we'd put the hairnet on and we'd have the sanitizer and the kitchen was clean, and we just worked our way through cheese-making recipe books, and we hardly had any mistakes. We had one mistake that was a pink camembert.
Yeah.
And but really, the chickens didn't get to eat much cheese. We just managed to make really great cheeses.
And what do you think the key to your success was there? Do you think it was sanitisation or just...
Oh, well, we did it. Carol taught us correct procedures from the start in her lessons, and we carried that on. We always had the hairnet on. We always made sure our equipment was for cheese making only. We bought a second-hand commercial fridge that we had set at about 12 degrees.
Yeah.
We just made sure that we did it properly from the start, and I think that that's the key, not to scrimp on sanitising your equipment. It's just really important to. It's such a high-risk food that it tells you when you've made a mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
You can tell when it's not quite right. The appearance and the smell, and it's just, and the taste. Look, once you get past, if it's really bad and the smells or a bit iffy, once you taste it, you know that there's something wrong, and it just goes out straight away.
Yeah, out of your mouth, that is.
Yeah. So, yeah, but appearance, like when something's pink, you know that that's not quite right.
That's not right. Yeah, exactly.
No, there's a problem.
So
but we also used to have little cheese parties on our deck because we sort of, in the back of our mind, knew that this might be something that we could do to sell. So we'd have cheese parties, and everybody wanted something different.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole group that said, well, that one is my favourite. It was, well, I like this one, and someone would say, well, I like that one. And at one stage we had 13 different cheeses to try, and once again, everyone liked the whole gamut. And I still find that, some people like a strong cheese, some people like a really mild cheese, some, a hard cheese, soft cheese. So you sort of have to have a little variety on hand all the time.
Yeah, everybody has their favourite, don't they?
They do. We even made 3 different types of white mold cheese, and if we were doing a cheese tasting, a third would like one and a third would like the other.
Yeah,
it was just weird. There wasn't much between them, but it was we'd do a hand count and it would always be the same.
So what was I noticed you teach cheese making courses. So was that a natural progression? Did you get around to selling the cheese, or just say, bugger this, we'll just go straight to teaching people how to make their own?
No, well, it was about 6 months into our home cheese making that the dairy farmer's wife and I decided to look into it as a factory situation where we could sell it. As a dairy farmer's side, it made sense to value add their milk. So, and I'm a pretty gung-ho sort of a person. I do 150%, and so we managed to get the factory up and running on their property quite quickly. I think we were thinking about it seriously in about September. I don't think it was about 6 years ago, and we managed to be up and running and selling by Easter.
Oh, goodness.
So it was really quick. I quit my job. I was on the internet looking for second-hand equipment. They put a little factory on the back of one of their rental properties, and we really got stuck into it with the help of our husbands, and we started up this little factory, and we were lucky to have a mentor. One of our cheese teachers came down and he mentored us and sort of put the fear of God in us about cleanliness and what we had to do, and safe food was done, and we had, New South Wales Safe Food program was all done.
Yeah.
And we managed to get up and running by April, just after Easter, and we worked our butts off for 2 weeks getting cheese made for a farmer's market at Byron that we'd managed to join. And we sold everything within
incredible.
about 2 hours. And then we went back to the factory and realised that we had to start all over again. But that was the beauty of it. You had a cash flow instantly.
Yeah.
Like once you did your initial setting it up, but the beauty was that we both had husbands that were working. So if we'd have had a bad week, we were still getting money in. So you sort of have to have that in the back of your mind. But we were lucky, well, not lucky. When you think about it, there's not that many handmade cheese factories around, little artisan cheese factories. And we have a few up here, but no one is a threat. It just means that you've got more choice and there's a little bit more competition, and everyone makes different cheeses.
Yeah,
whether or not it's a brie, they all taste different.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has, doesn't matter if you follow the same recipe, it's the type of milk and all that sort of goodness, isn't it?
It is, and we were lucky that we loved cooking, and it's unusual for females to be cheesemakers because it's quite a physical job. In fact, I think I lost about 7 kilos in the first month because it was such hard work.
Yeah.
Picking up buckets and tipping buckets and turning cheeses, and it was quite physical. But we both really enjoyed what we did, and we were both good at different things. So the cheese factory went ahead in leaps and bounds. We were in the Delicious magazine, Produce Awards. Jamie Oliver was eating our cheese and taking it back to his hotel room.
Goodness me.
It just took off. We were in Mind Food, a 5-page glossy magazine, with our cheeses at the front, and everyone loves a good news story. They love to see someone work in like a business work and start up and go like the blazes. It was just the best experience. It was hard work, but at the end of the day, you're making something that someone likes and tells you about. Yeah,
and especially with the food, everybody loves good food.
Oh, they love good food, and they love telling you about it. And farmers market was a really great outlet for us. I think 75% of our sales was through a farmers market. We had 5 farmers markets up here, whether they're existing or they started up while we were operating the factory, and we just love that experience of selling your cheese to someone that could taste it and you could tell the story. If it goes on a shelf with everyone else's cheese, it doesn't tell the story.
Yeah.
But my business partner and her family decided that they wanted to build a big on-farm outlet, and they wanted family to come in on it rather than bring me in as a financial member. So I backed out and instantly went into sort of a head spin, what am I going to do, and decided to start teaching the cheese making. And I basically, within 3 weeks of the factory shutting down, I was teaching. So I think I was born to tell people what to do, Gavin.
You remind me of somebody.
I love it. And I did a Cert 4 in teaching and assessment. And it was great because it made me more structured with what I did. And I just love it. And I thought I'd run out of people to teach because it's nearly been 1.5 years. But I just keep filling those darn classes.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It is great. I've got some people come back to classes 5 or 6 times.
Yeah. And you teach a range of cheeses, don't you?
I do. I have a beginner's class, which is the basics. So that's halloumi, ricotta, yogurt, kefir, which is a probiotic drink, paneer, and labna.
All in the same class?
In the same class. So we start at 9 and we kick them out the door about 2:30.
Goodness me.
And we have a beautiful farmers market lunch, which is all my cheeses that I make at home, and farmers market produce, whether it's local salamis and sun-dried olives and, all the food that you can buy locally.
Yeah.
And I make all the cakes for morning tea, so they're all homemade, which makes a big difference.
Oh, the students would love it.
And they love it.
Yeah.
And we make our way through, and then once they become a bit gamer, we do goat feta, Colby.
Yeah.
Romano is a big one. That's just, I don't think you can ever go wrong with Romano.
It's pretty hard, isn't it?
But it's the hour and a half stirring can put people off.
Yeah, yeah.
We tell stories and jokes during that time, but it's great fun. I had a couple from Melbourne come up for the class to visit their daughter, but to come for a 2-day class. And it was so much fun. They just loved it. They couldn't wait to go back and start making it at home.
So how do you get around, so these cheeses take time to press. So do you make all the hard cheeses on the first day and then press them overnight?
Really one-day cheeses.
Oh,
so
right.
everything is made in the day. I did 3 2-day classes when I first started, and I find the 2-day classes are just so exhausting.
Yeah.
You don't really remember what you made at the beginning of the day, let alone the beginning of the day one. So I tend to talk people through what they have to do once they get home, and in the recipes that I give them, it's day 2, this is what you do, day 4, this is what you do. And I'm on email and phone all the time.
Yeah.
Sort of telling people that, that they've missed something, that this is what you do. And they have success. They have success. Most go out and eventually, if they get serious, go and buy a wine fridge.
Yeah.
Some people have camping fridges or, esques with ice bricks, those really dedicated people.
Yeah.
We have quite a warm climate up here, so even in wintertime we've had a really warm climate, and so they can't really put it in a pantry and get it down to 12 degrees.
Yeah, they'd have to chill it in the wine fridge or cheese fridge or something like that, wouldn't they?
Or even in the bottom of it, if you have an old fridge, sometimes the bottom crisper can be 9 or 10 degrees, and that could be all right.
Yeah.
It just takes a bit longer.
Yeah. I find that most fridges have a warm spot. So, those the mould ripened cheeses would go well because they need a lower temperature than, say, the semi-hard and hard. So, So that's a hint to anybody out there listening that if you haven't got the money for a cheese fridge, then get a thermometer in your normal fridge and see which the warmest part is.
Yes, exactly right. And you can also put it in a little phone box as well in your fridge, and that will eventually cool it down enough. There is a way, isn't there? There's
always a way.
We just put in a walk-in wardrobe in my daughter's room, and she's in year 11. I can't wait. In a year's time, it's going to be a cheese room. I do keep telling her as well.
Oh, fabulous. Are you going to refrigerate, cool it, or something like that?
Oh, well, actually, I went to a dairy the other day, and he's got this little contraption that he hooks up to an air conditioner that keeps the humidity in, and it's a lot better in, his maturation room cooler carked it.
Yeah.
And so he's just put in an air conditioner with this little thing that's plugged into it that ripens everything nicely.
That's fantastic.
I know, because we had it in our factory. We had a compressor, and we had an old cool room that we actually got from the Department of Forestry. It was 2 parts, so one was 4 degrees and one was 12 degrees. And it was dripping, and God, it was good. Everything would start moulding up within about 4 or 5 days, and it was fantastic. But you do need that bit of a drippy, in one of those. I really miss it. I really miss the maturation room.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to keep humidity in cheese fridges. It's I either wax mine or to keep the moisture in, or lately I've been vac packing a few of the softer semi-hard cheeses, if that makes sense. Things like Cotswold and maybe, I know, Colby I've been waxing, and that's been turning out really nice.
I vacuum seal everything. We always do that in the factory when we had Romano and things like that. We always vacuum seal it, and that way you can see what's going on underneath.
Yeah.
But it works beautifully. I actually bought an eBay wine fridge, and it's okay. It's quite good. It's like a little cheaper version. But I went and bought a Hisense fridge with temperature and humidity controlled, and I'm just so in love with it. It just works perfectly.
Yeah. So it's ideal. You could even do salamis and stuff like that in it, I suppose.
I was talking to a salami guy today, so it's very tempting, but I find that I can only really concentrate on one thing.
Yes.
I can't multitask.
Cheese.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
So,
you do the beer and the salami and the...
Well, I haven't got around to salami yet, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately.
Did you go to the Salami Fest?
No, I haven't, no.
Oh, it was 2 weeks ago, Gavin.
I missed it.
It's home salami makers.
I was probably teaching cheese.
You probably were.
Anyway, I've got some more questions for you, Deborah. It's
Go
fantastic.
ahead.
Your history was fantastic. It's just amazing. So, where do you make cheese at home? In your kitchen, or have you got a special place?
No, in the kitchen. It is, well, I figure it's very similar to the farms in Italy where mama goes out and milks the cow.
Yeah, for sure.
I go and buy my milk from a local dairy farm at Nimbin.
Yep.
And it's already pasteurised, which is excellent. And they've got goats as well, so the goats and cows. And then I make my cheese at home. So I actually had a lovely cheese-making day on Monday. I had some milk left over from classes. And I made 2 drunken goats, which I've never done before.
Nice.
So they'll be put into wine tomorrow. I've made 2 goat toms that are brining in front of me at the moment, and 2 cow Jarlsberg, which is my new favourite cheese.
So where did you get the recipe for the Jarlsberg?
200 easy homemade cheese recipes.
Oh, I'll have to look that one up.
It's my favourite book from Debra Allard Boys.
Oh,
and,
okay, yeah.
I also am a big fan of cheeseforum.org, I mean.
Yep.
I double-check and triple-check people's advice, especially those fantastic scientific cheesy brains. And because Deborah's book does have mistakes.
Yeah, I found all of them do. I think even mine has one. I'm sure I fixed it, though.
See, she's bringing out a new book in the next month with the mistakes fixed.
Oh, okay. So a new version.
A newer version.
Yeah.
But, I love it. But the Jarlsberg was just fantastic. I've never done anything with eyes in it.
Yeah.
And I buy all my cultures from Cheese Links.
Yep.
And Julie advised me on a product called Eyes 2. And if you are on Facebook, my Cheeses Loves You Facebook page, I put a photo on there on Sunday where I did a happy little cheese dance. And it was just divine.
I saw
Even
you.
my husband liked it.
I saw the picture of your Jarlsberg. So
yeah,
what I'll do at the end of the when I do the show notes, I'll put a link to your Facebook page. No problems at all. Do you have a blog or anything like that?
I haven't got into blogging or tweeting.
Tweeting. Tweeting.
I'm so addicted to Facebook. I don't want a website anymore. I used to maintain a website for the factory, and it was okay. But I find that on Facebook it's instant, and I can put a picture on straight away. And I've got one of those phones that you use your finger to get up and down and take photos. And
nice and quick.
I love it. I love instant photos. I love to be able to comment, and people can comment back, and that, to me, that's my sort of a blog.
Yeah. A lot of people are using Facebook pages as a blog now anyway, so no, it's a good place to start. Hey, what are your favourite cheeses to make?
Oh, gosh, the Reblochon, when I first made it, it was absolutely outstanding, and then I haven't been able to make a good one since.
Goodness me.
But I know now what I did right then and what I'm doing wrong now, so I'm going to make another one tomorrow. But I do love making the Romano.
Yeah.
Because it's that stirring, increasing the temperature. Usually I put the TV on. I'm a bit of a TV head, and I watch a midday movie while I'm stirring. And it's just, life's good.
Yeah, it is. Romanos are so simple to make. There's not many steps, just except all the stirring. and turning the temperature.
And the end result has never failed for me. I have never had a bad Romano. So it's just such an easy recipe.
How long do you mature your Romano for?
Well, you can start eating it at 3 months, but really if it's about 5 or 6 months, it's starting to get pretty crumbly, and I love that mouthfeel to it. It's just like
it's like an explosion, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's I just love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I usually crack mine about between 9 and 10, 11 months mark, where it's really, I don't know, maybe I'm just one of those patient sort of guys that that can keep it, because usually I've got a couple of Parmesan in the cheese fridge as well, so if I get desperate, I'll always crack into one of those. But Romano, you get so much bulk for your cheese.
Yeah. And you can eat it quicker than it. I've never made Parmesan.
Haven't you?
We made a cheddar once when I first started to learn, and I thought 2 hours stirring, look, really?
Yeah.
I just cannot be bothered. I'd rather go and buy one.
I've got
What's your favourite cheese, Gavin?
Nobody's ever asked me that question. I think I would say Caerphilly. Really, I don't know why. It's that saltiness and it's the creaminess, and it only takes 3 weeks from when you make it to when you can eat it.
Oh, my God, 3 weeks.
3 weeks, and it is one of the most fabulous semi-hard cheeses I've ever eaten.
I love the cheddaring process. We did that on Sunday. It was one of my Saturday, one of my classes. We did Caerphilly.
Yeah.
And people came to do that so that they would get that cheddaring process.
It was so simple but you know that scared me away for ages. Right? Somebody said cheddaring, you got to stack the blocks and stuff like that. I'm going, huh? But you know, once I'd had a go, it was harmless. You know, all I did was sanitize my sink top, the stainless steel sink, laid a cheesecloth over the top, cut it into a couple of slabs that are 2 inches wide, and just stacked them on top of each other. It wasn't that hard. So.
Well, I will have to admit, my very first time that I knew about you was the Caerphilly YouTube.
Oh, the video, right, yeah.
And I was looking at a hard cheese to make. My business partner was the hard cheesemaker. She would make Romano and Reparto, and I thought, I'm going to have a go at making a hard cheese. I'm going to make Caerphilly. And I watched you with I think you had 10 litres of milk.
Something like that, yeah.
And then the next day, I raced into the factory with 100 litres of milk and made Caerphilly with 100 litres of milk. I was nervous and excited, and it worked beautifully, but it's hard to hang over a pasteurizer. Like we used to use our pasteurizer as a vat.
Yeah.
It's hard to hang over it and cheddar.
Yeah, I bet. It would have been back-breaking.
It was back-breaking, but gee, it was great fun. At the end of the day, you've got these big hoops full of curds, all wrapped in their cloth, and I said, thank you, Gavin.
Nice. Thank you very much. So was it salty and yummy and creamy?
It was a little bit acidic.
Yep.
But you get that with Caerphilly because it's not a washed curd.
Yeah, that's correct.
I do love Colby, though, as a flavour for a cheese. I think and it's a really simple process. I think there's a wash in between.
Yeah, there's one wash, and it's quite simple. In fact, I only discovered... I haven't discovered. I discovered making Colby this year. This is the first year, and I've been making cheese since 2009 now. And my wife said, "Well, why don't you make something different?" I think she was sick of Caerphilly, but and Parmesan, and you know, I'd do probably 2 or 3 of a cheese, make a video because I was confident enough then, and then she said, "Well, try something different." And then the other day she asked me, Gavin, that pickled onion cheese that I bought at the shop the other day, can you make that? And I went, oh, God. It's when someone's expectations are set with a cheese that they've tasted somewhere, and you've got to try and figure out how to make it. And quite luckily there was that the Cotswold cheese, onions and chives. And,
oh, wow.
And as that matures, it kind of tastes like pickled onions, would you believe? So... I had to make 2 on Wednesday.
Well, the Colby has got a beautiful nutty sort of flavour, and it's a semi-soft, like semi-hard cheese, so it doesn't take long to ripen. And I love the little amount that it makes. It's really great. But I forgot to tell you, I'm going to the UK in November to visit friends, and I'm going to go to Yorkshire is
Lovely.
the cave filly factory
In Yorkshire.
in Yorkshire. Yeah.
Nice.
So
So what other any other factories you're pretty close to Wensleydale there too.
yes, well, it is in Wensleydale that this factory is, and I was very excited because she was more than happy for me. Like, she was really excited for me to come. And then I'm just staying in Bath, so there's a couple of cheese factories there. They do camemberts, which would be nice because I've never really had great success with camemberts.
Yeah, mine are okay, but if you leave them that extra few days too long, they start smelling like ammonia.
Yeah.
And they go off on taste. I usually eat mine now at 3 weeks. I can't let them go any longer.
No, but the trouble with home cheese making is keeping that moisture out of your containers and getting that white mould coverage. If you've got a little factory where you've got a great fan
you got a big
and it's
room
all
too,
perfect conditions, it's so easy.
And you can just spray white mould anywhere you like,
Anywhere, and it just comes up.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
We always used to say if we stay in the cool room in the maturation room too long, we'd come out with white mould all over.
So do you make blue cheeses as well? Do you like those?
Yes, I do. My favourite book, 200 Easy Homemade Cheese Recipes. I do the Castle Blue recipe.
Yeah.
It never looks like the cover shot. Never. I have never seen it like that.
Right.
But it ripens within about 30 to 60 days, and it's unbelievable.
Do you get much skin forming on the outside? Do you have to scrape that off a lot? I found that with...
No, I've had no trouble with it at all.
Goodness.
It's quite soft. It's a soft cheese.
Yeah.
I've also done the Cambozola, which was just like butter. It's 2 litres of milk and 2 litres of cream. And I actually did a class on Saturday with it, and I think that we did Cambozola and Romano. Oh, no, sorry, cave filly.
Yeah.
And I actually changed the recipe to 3 litres of milk and 1 litre of cream.
It was just too
because
rich?
It was just too thick, yeah. And the blue didn't grow through too much. But I probably need to keep trying different blue recipes because I do want a nice hard blue. I haven't got that yet.
Yeah. I found Stilton, I'd only asked for, I think it's 2 cups of cream per 8 litres, which is not too bad. Seeing a little bit of extra butterfat in there, but mine always turn out, well, I have to scrape. Once it starts getting that fungus all over the outside, which blocks the holes, so you can't get blue veins, you've got to scrape that off with a flat knife. And then what I do is just put foil around the cylinder part of it and leave the 2 ends open.
Yeah.
And if I need to, I re-pierce. But it comes out quite firm once it's mature, and you've got blue lines all the way through. Very nice. Very nice.
Fantastic. Because the more cream you have, the more the holes will close up and you won't get blue.
Yeah.
So you need that really open. I did a blue in the factory as just a little play. Because when you've got a factory and you're trying to spit cheese out, it's really hard to start a new cheese and try something new. So I did have a bit of a play, and it was a very open curd, and it grew blue beautifully. But geez, it was scary looking.
I bet.
They're only little too. They're only a little hoop, and they were gorgeous. But my business partner wouldn't let me sell them because she was scared.
Somebody poisoned somebody.
So we give those ones away.
Nice. So when you're having your cheese parties, what's your favourite drink to go with your cheese?
Oh, I love Monty's pear cider.
Oh, lovely. So a Perry.
Crisp. The apple one's a little bit too acidic, but I do love the pear one.
Yeah.
So it has to be really cold, and I love it. I haven't had a pear cider that I love as much as the Monty's. It's a New Zealand one.
Nice. Very nice.
What's your favourite, Tipple?
Well, with the stronger cheeses, I do like beer. I like a dark ale with the stronger. So, like, let me give you. So, when Kim and I were trying the Cotswold the other day, I said this would go nice with one of my Fat Yak type beers that I've made, and my goodness, it did. Because it's known in the UK as a pub cheese, right? Because they break it out onto cheese platters, and when they have a let's call it ploughman's lunch, right? It's one of the cheddars that they put on the ploughman's lunch. So with the dark ale, it was fabulous. But with stronger cheeses, like if you're going to eat Romano straight, stuff like that, you've got to have a dark red, I reckon. Really do.
Oh,
And then say for things like, I like to match. I like to play around. So with say a Colby, I like probably a really dry white, something like a Sauvignon Blanc or something like that. And that just the texture and the sweetness of the Colby and nuttiness, just so nice. You can just match anything. It's lovely. So you don't have to necessarily match it with wine. And I love your idea of the pear cider. And I discovered that ales go well with the hard cheddars and the really overpowering flavoured cheddars as well. So there you go.
Oh, it's all good, isn't it?
It's lovely. I love cheese. Cheese is good.
I'm a gin and tonic girl as well, so I think just those two drinks. I don't drink much, just occasionally, and nice, beautiful finger limes bubbling up and down in the gin and tonic. It's
nice.
Fabulous. I love it.
It's been a great interview. I've got a final question. So what words of encouragement would you give to new cheesemakers out there?
Oh, gosh, go and do a course. I've got this man that rang me up the other day, and he said, I've never made cheese before. I want to make cheese. He said, I've been looking at this YouTube video of a man making cheese out of kefir, making brie out of kefir. And I said, really? And for those of you that don't know, kefir is just a probiotic drink. It's just like a yogurt, but it's a lot better.
Comes in grains, doesn't it? The culture.
Sorry?
The culture comes in grain-sized particles? Yeah.
There's a few different ones. You've got water kefir, and you've got, it's like a mesophilic.
Yeah, it's culture, yeah.
Culture. And I said, what rennet are you using? Oh, no, this one doesn't use rennet. I said, that would be interesting. Oh, let me know how you go. Anyhow, so a week later he rang me up. He said, it didn't set. Well,
Funny.
there you go. He said, I might need to get some rennet. So he came over, and I do sell little bits and pieces just so you don't have to go and get, mail costs, freight costs.
Yeah.
And he bought a few hoops. And I'm waiting for him now to say, I think I need to come to a lesson, because you will throw out lots and lots and lots of cheese.
Yeah.
You need to learn those basics. You need to learn adding cultures and why you need to do that, and adding your rennet and just the basics.
Yeah,
I found how to cut it.
I found that too. I hadn't even picked up a cheese book until I saw the course from those lovely old ducks that I went and learnt how to make cheese. They must have been in their 70s or something, but lovely ladies.
They were old ducks.
They were old ducks.
Old duck.
I'm not an old duck. You're not an old duck. No, but no, they were great, and they talked us through the process, but they actually one of the things I changed in my cheese courses was when I learnt, they measured all the ingredients, right, and they handed it to you. I got some feedback from students early on in the piece that, hey, we want to measure the stuff, because they wouldn't learn. You'd hand them something and they just pour it in, right, when you told them to. They wouldn't learn the process. So we've changed the last probably 5 cheese making courses. We've actually asked people to measure it out themselves. Here's the ingredients. You go for it. You make the mistake, and you'll suffer. So I said, I have no spare milk. So they're very astute when they're measuring things out and stuff. So it's worked really well because they've learnt better.
Especially the rennet. People, I don't realise it, but people don't know how to measure 1.25 ml of rennet.
Yeah.
So they all get a syringe to take home, and I said, just practice. So I did have one lady ring me in an absolute fit once because she, her halloumi hadn't set, and I said, how much rennet did you put in? She said, 1 mil or whatever it was, and I said, did you count 1, 2? No, it was just a few drops, and I said, oh, well, there's.
Well, that's not 1.2 mil.
Yeah, so it is. I mean, I do the teaspoons, like the 1/8 of a teaspoon or whatever, and I show them what that would look like.
Yeah.
But it's really important that they do their rennet because, it's surprising how many people have never actually measured out.
Yeah, well, that's funny you should say that. I did notice 1 or 2 people on the course I taught a couple of weekends ago, and they were looking a bit hesitant. What do I do with these spoon things? But no, I talked them through it, and they were fine. So
yeah, and so my advice is go and have a lesson, and then arm yourself with just a few things. Make sure you've got a container that you can store all of your cheese equipment in. Don't have a saucepan that you've made a stew in the day before. Don't have a jug that your husband goes out and uses marl fluid, mixes their marl fluid. Yes, make sure everything's clean and sanitise. Up in the far north coast, we have people that aren't very happy about using bleach, sodium hypochlorite, or microwaves.
Yeah, I've come across a few people, more and more, that don't like microwaves.
I don't like microwaves. So yeah. I've had to, when I do the 30-minute mozzarella class, had to sort of make sure I do the non-microwave stage
method.
As well.
Yeah.
But, the bleach one's hard because really it's very difficult to get your stuff clean without sodium hypochlorite.
Yeah, unless you boil it. I tend to boil the stuff and then have a mixture of a weak bleach solution mixed with some white vinegar, of all things, and that seems to work really, really well because it's not so strong as you would normally, like 2 capfuls, about 20 mils to 2 litres. So I do it a lot weaker than that, but it's still enough, and everything's sanitised, and I've never had an infection.
Great.
Which is, the aim of the game. Oh,
it is. It is. And when you go back to try and work out why something didn't work, you need to have that sanitising down pat so that is just out of the equation.
Yeah, you take it away from any issue that you may stumble across.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been fantastic talking to you, Deborah. I bet you've been busting to come on the show ever since I started the podcast. I knew you would have.
I haven't been podcasted before.
Oh, well, there you go. Now you consider yourself podcasted, okay?
Thank you so much, Gavin. It's been lovely talking to you, and we must catch up.
I reckon we will.
I reckon we will as well.
All right, fantastic. Thanks. Nice talking to you, Deborah.
Jesus loves you, Gavin.
Oh, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, there's the outro music. That's all we've got time for this week. You can find all my recipes and upcoming workshop dates, and including my ebook, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, The Beginner's Guide to Cheese Making at Home, on The Little Green Cheese. And the web address for that is www.littlegreencheese.com. You can also find my cheese making video tutorials within that ebook or on my YouTube channel. Just look for the username Greening of Gavin. Thanks for listening, Curd Nerds, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Little Green Cheese podcast. During this podcast, you heard royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. I played Malt Shop Bop and Call to the Dairy Cows.